Welcome to my studio for another jumpstart. This is number 6. And today it's a little different. And the reason is we're going to just paint something for the fun of it with no subject matter in mind. And there are times when I just need to get brush in hand and slap some paint on the paper and to warm myself up. So today we're going to do an abstract with no subject matter in mind. Now my goal is to do a middle value abstract, so I guess I should talk a little bit about light, middle, and dark value paintings. So I've got some samples so that you know what I'm talking about. So first of all, let's look at some light value paintings. And you can see there's a lot of white, a lot of lighter values. I paint wet into wet, so I often lose my white, stark whites. But you can see that there's a dominant of light and light middle values. There are some darks and some middle darks, but not very much. Now the middle value painting is sort of a normal painting for me. I tend to gravitate to this level, and these are some middle value examples. And you'll see there are some light lights, there are some dark darks, but it's mainly middle value. Kind of evenly distributed between middle light and middle darks. Not necessarily, but that leads us into the dark value range. And the dark value paintings, as you would expect, the dominance is middle dark and black, dark darks. But maybe a few highlight white paintings. Now, the dark range is the most difficult range in watercolor because the paint dries light, so that you might have what you think is a dark, moody painting, but after the painting dries, it turns out to be sort of a normal painting and not as moody as you thought. Let's move on into the painting itself and get started with a middle value abstract painting. Okay, let's have some fun. I dashed in a few lines here with a 2B pencil, maybe suggest some sort of, this case, rectilinear format. I'll totally disregard those. Also, you'll notice that I'm using the second side of a piece of watercolor paper. I'm going to paint this abstract, just wet into wet. Now I found there's one problem with going wet into wet, and that is I invariably lose my stark whites. So I'm very aware of that. And lighter shapes as I paint. The other thing in this painting that I've decided is that I want to do something with blues, kind of a blue dominant, and maybe, let's see, red, a little bit of purple, a little violet, and then balance that with some orange. This is a complementary contrast color scheme. That's the only thing I've decided, and I might be willing to change that as I go. I will be willing, of course, to make whatever changes are necessary to make the painting work. Okay, so you can see I'm actually taking paint away to recover some of those wide areas, keeping the shapes nice and soft. using a 2-inch brush. And I do believe in using the biggest brush that I can. So, cobalt blue with a little cerulean here. And then my red's a rose red. Keeping it soft. I love those soft shapes. Now, as the painting progresses, my brush is drier and drier. I don't want the paint to go everywhere. I want it to stay where it is, pretty much. Still, with some nice soft shapes. Let's take a look at those whites. You can see I've really lost my whites, so let's see if I can't pull them back out again a little bit anyway. All right. Dry my palette. And let's go back in here to the now a different red. None of the paint so far it's going to even dry middle value, so got a ways to go with this, which is sometimes it's good. Now I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. There we go, 1 inch flat. So I'm painting around shapes now. I'm not, we think of watercolor as being something that a medium where you paint little dark positive shapes at the end. You paint light to dark. And I'm painting little dark shapes, littler dark shapes, but they're negative shapes, and by doing so I'm creating white shapes, lighter shapes, as being a dominant form. So let's see here. This is kind of interesting. Let's see what we got. using these flat wash brushes, and they tend to give me rectangular marks. So my paint is going to be a bit rectangular right now. What a great way to start the day. Just get that first painting out of the way. Maybe something will happen with this. Maybe nothing will happen. Just fuzz it out a little bit down here. Now the foreground of any painting needs a little extra attention. It will not look finished unless you give the foreground a little extra texture. A little more than most of the painting, except the center of interest. So that's what I'm doing now. And switch brushes again to a linear brush. I mean a line, well, a round brush, not a linear brush. It'll help move us through the page. I think maybe some toothbrush battering might be fun. let's dry this, blow dry this, and see how it turns out. And that's it for this fun little abstract. Looks like I ended up with something with a middle value or normal value painting. We do have some whites, but they're really, they're not quite stark white, but they qualify as whites. We have a little bit of dark. Most of it's middle values. It's a normal value range. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.